Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wingcat Sports. Today, we're going to talk about the Red Wings. We haven't done a Red Wing video that much. We only got one up so far, so I feel like we can get some Red Wing videos out there. I'm going to talk about the goaltending situation today, right? We only got one goaltender on the roster, so we will be looking at a backup and/or bringing up Kosa. He's currently in Toledo, right? I feel like he'll be in Grand Rapids next year, but he might be also an option for us to go with, right? So, for the most part, right? What are you doing? You're gonna bring the cat up into the video. So, for the most part, right, we have our options. I'm looking at more free agency. We could trade. The big trade would be if we are going to trade. I would say go all out. And why not go get Hellebuck out of Winnipeg? Would you want them to trade draft capital to go get a goaltender?
He's a heck of a goaltender. I mean, I think I'm more inclined to want them to fix the defense than to go after a goaltender. But he's a hell of a goaltender, and what kind of capital do you think we'd have to give up for him?
Probably getting up a few draft picks. He's a top 5 goaltender.
You're talking number ones and things.
It probably would be. You have extra ones and probably be some twos. You might give up some of your prospects. He is a guy though. He is up there, right? He is from the area though. He is a top 5 goaltender. He's from the area, right? I don't know if Winnipeg is going into that rebuild exactly yet, but I know there was that little bit of the rumor going around on if he was going to be out of Winnipeg. He would be the only goaltender I would trade for. I don't know if there's anyone out there you would exactly want.
Linus Ullmark is supposed to be up for possible, but again, it's the same thing I think about Goff with the offensive line. Said you put a good defense in front of these guys, Husso's going to be a heck of a goaltender. You still need to get a backup for him, but I don't want to get. I'm not in the position right now where I want to go out and get a starter, someone to replace Husso, because Hellebuck's going to replace Husso. So is Linus Ullmark or anyone like that.
There are some good guys that I think you could go after on the free agent market. Some of them are older, but there is a couple that are younger, right? You could go after Varlamov. I think he's in his mid-20s to early 30s. He's probably more in the 30s, I believe. He is from the Islanders, right? They got their young guy going. He is going to be a free agent next year. You get Frederik Andersen. He was from Toronto. He's playing in Carolina. Right, both Carolina goaltenders, they've done really well in Carolina. They're onto the conference final, right? And both their goaltenders are going to be available for a backup potentially. Blackwood out of New Jersey, he could be somebody you could get as potentially to split and or back up. Husso, the guy that I really think they could go after, Corpizilo out of LA.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he's young. He played with Columbus. He went to LA. He did pretty good in LA. Right, they even though they made the playoffs, they lost in the first round. I think he could be a very suitable backup. Right, if you want to wait and give Kosa those 2 years, Kosa's probably going to be in Grand Rapids next year.
Right.
So I think signing probably Corpizilo would be a really, really good idea, and/or probably going after Rata or Anderson, if they are willing to be a backup or split with Husso. I think those are very good options.
Right. I think if Kosa is on track and you think that he is going to be the goalie in another couple of years, I'm fine with signing someone to a veteran to a 2-year contract to back up Husso. I like Husso. He got hurt a few times last year, but again, our defense is not very good. And for what he did, I thought he did a very good job.
Yeah.
He was, consistent. But we need a lot of help on the back end in front of him. And we'll talk about that in another video.
So there are those. Kosa could be up, I think, but I don't think he will start the year up here. He's doing really, really well in Toledo right now. Right, they have not lost the playoff game. They swept both their playoff series. So he's doing really, really well in Toledo, but I don't think he's going to skip Grand Rapids. I think next year he will be in Grand Rapids again, just like he started out this year in Grand Rapids. If he does well, right, maybe they call him up for a backup situation every now and again. Given that NHL experience, you only have Husso for 2 more years.
Are you expecting Kosa to be an elite goaltender.
That's
Patrick Waugh.
They drafted him to be their next starter. That's what they drafted him to be.
Right. I mean, that's a difference maker. I don't see Husso as an elite goaltender. I see him as a solid goaltender.
Exactly.
So I do not really, it wouldn't bother me, like I said, just to sign somebody for a year or two, a veteran who's got a few more years left, can give us 20 games, 30 games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what you got.
That's the route I think they should take.
That's what you got to think of, right? You got Husso for 2 years, right? Kosa, once he gets up here, he'll be, I don't know how many years he's here. I didn't look into his contract. And then same thing with, right, whoever you might sign. If you sign them to a 1 or 2, you could sign them to a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, depending on what happens, right? And how you want Kosa to develop. It's probably going to be a 1-year deal on whoever you get to be the backup. And then Kosa will be up the year after this year to be the backup. So when Husso's gone, he can take over. I think that is the plan right now. So
I'm all for that.
It's what's going to happen in this offseason. Like I said, I feel like Capizio would be a good option. You could go with Anderson. You could go with Tristan Jarry out of Pittsburgh. Even though they just missed the playoffs.
Right. I mean, all those are great options as long as they don't want to sign for more than a year or two. I think that all those goaltenders would be fine. I mean, who was the last elite goaltender the Wings had? I mean, I don't consider Osgood elite.
I would say the closest you could get would be Hasek, but he was old.
But he was elite. You're talking back in like 2002.
So you could go with Hasek. That would be your last one because
the late 90s. That's right. He won the cup in the late 90s with us, I think.
Wasn't in 08, but he was old in 08.
Right.
Your next option, what? You're going to go Mike Vernon? No.
No, I think you're right. I think Hasek's the last elite goaltender we had. And he made a huge difference, even on a team that was star-studded at that time.
So, but that's what you're going to have to hope. Either you're going to have to sign the guy, and no one in this offseason is that guy. Or you're going to have to hope Kosa's that guy.
Right. I look at Husso like I look at Osgood. When Osgood was in there, solid. He played, he played well when he was in there, but he wasn't going to totally dominate too often. I mean, Husso won a few games for us last year. I think he's a big reason, we had any improvement.
Hell, I would take Hellberg again. I would take him again. I don't think he did bad.
No.
For barely playing.
He's not a great goaltender.
No, but he's an okay backup.
Right.
If you work on your defense, he would be okay.
Unless we think, and I think almost all of us are getting kind of tired of waiting for the Iser plan to, at least show us a playoff team. This is what I'm expecting this year. I would like to see, but he does not have a lot of free agents. He's going to have to work some magic. That team is not close to being like any.
You are a wild card team. That's what you are.
They're not, but
you're fighting for the wild card
team, and I would not put us on the same level with them.
You are fighting for the wild card spots currently, right?
Right.
It's all going to. The free agent pool isn't as good, and we'll get more into that with the other videos. Like the goaltending market really isn't too spectacular, if I had to say so. Right? They have some options. It's either most of them though are in their 30s.
I think all the ones you named would be perfectly fine if they ended up getting Hellberg. I really don't care about the backup, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe that's short-sightedness. I mean, I do care, but I want the guy to be solid. But Husso's our starter. Yes. And I'm hoping that he, we give him some help in front of him, and with the people coming up, I expect a lot of changes on the Wings.
Yes, there should be a lot, right? Husso, and if Husso does really, really well, right, we could team in front of him. He does well. Who's to say he won't be the goaltender that just stays, right?
He may be.
And if they play Kosa, Kosa doesn't end up playing well, maybe you stay with Husso. We'll see what ends up happening.
This seems to be a Husso, Kosa kind of. Is he going to take over job eventually or not? Husso's going to be there, solid. He's got 2 more years on his contract.
Yes, 2 more years.
So that's perfect. Kosa will be about 22, 23.
Yeah, like I
It'll be
said,
perfect.
and that's why I say you sign someone, you could sign him to 1 year, you could sign him to 2 years, and if Huso does really, really good, and you want to try and trade him, you trade him. You have your backup for another year, and you can split time between Kosa and that backup, or you sign a backup to a 1 year deal, and you bring up Kosa the year after that. Let him get that NHL experience. Let him take over if he is good enough at that point.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
But with that being said, right, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think, right? And hope to see everybody soon.